I felt like the biggest idiot when I whipped around this corner trying to get this shot, tripped over something, slammed into the glass. I had to put ice. They were trying to get ice in a foreign country.
You had a war story.
I did. And I like making content to really share my perspective, which is I do appreciate the glam of it all. And I never... She's back.
Helen Polise,
the most influential TikTok teacher of our time, inspires millions to show their true selves on social media by teaching the art of content production with just a smartphone.
I think the audience feeds the creator and vice versa. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are making a mistake about. What do you want to share? What do you feel so excited about? What do you feel that you can help people with? And even if it's just by entertaining them, what is that drives you? That's the part that people have trouble tapping into because they're trying to...
If you're trying to go viral, what's the first thing you should be thinking about?
Things that are most successfully viral, they usually hook you in the first 3 seconds, but they also...
AI is playing a greater role.
AI is learning, but it can't be us. It's different. I cracked the code on how it helps me. I'm just hoping that we can figure out a way to use it as a world that's more productive and not destructive.
What have you found that's given you just a little bit of peace of mind?
There's a skill set I have that I am tapping into at a different level. And it's not production, and it's not teaching, and it's none of those things. It's...
Welcome to What the Tech, your gateway to business strategies and tech secrets shaping today's workplace.
It's not often that we get somebody that is at their peak and who understands what it takes to succeed on social media because they're living it. And as they're living it, sharing that experience with the rest of us so that we really get an insight on what is really happening. I have that somebody today. I want you to welcome to the podcast again, Helen Polise. Yay! Love it. I love it. Helen, is it okay if I, I'm not going to offend any guests here that have been on the past, but I really enjoy when you come on and I love talking to you. And there's just, I feel like I've known you for a long time, but we haven't. We've known each other for, maybe a year or so.
Right. It is that way. And I find that a lot of people say that about me when they meet me in person. I just met someone recently that I know from TikTok, and she was in the city for a billboard thing that she had to see in Times Square. And she said to me, "Oh my gosh, you're even better in person. You're exactly the same, but you're somehow better." And I was like, okay. So I do feel comfortable.
The 3D version of you is better than the 2D.
Apparently. Who knew?
Well, you've been up to a lot since the last time you were here. And, when we have a guest on for a second time, to me, it's a little harder because, we put a lot to try to get the first thing off the ground. But the second one, there's so much that's happened. And one of the things that, I've been consuming and loving all this stuff that you're putting out there is it's really just for those that don't know you to understand your why. Somebody that's coming on to the podcast right now, trying to understand, they've not seen you on social media, don't really understand what you're doing. Why are you doing what you're doing?
It is something that I almost can't put into words because it's so inside and part of my thread at this point, part of my tapestry. But when I got on social media and I started just having fun and dabbling in it, and we talked about last time how that happened and how I started baking and dancing and all of that. And when I realized I have this knack for teaching and imparting knowledge on how to do the things, and people were embracing me for that, it became something that I was like driven to do by unexplainable forces inside. And recently on my daughter and I's podcast, we were talking about childhood jobs. And I said, oh, actually my childhood job was always to be a teacher. And then I ended up getting in production and being in directing. So it's weird because I've almost come back to my childhood self. And we always played school and I was always the teacher, me and my sisters. That's what we did when we were little. So this is weird. And it's like something inside. That's the truth. So why I keep going is I'm getting the feedback that I need, and I'm getting people who need me. And it just took me 4 years to realize what I'm realizing now, which is creating a space to actually help people and be able to earn a living from it so that I'm not just spending all my time doing this for free. And then I have to go and work a day job at the same time to make sure that I'm still doing my thing. So
Mhm.
it's been a little adventure since we last saw each other.
And I think a lot of people that are putting content out, if you're more of, let's call it the content creator type, right? And there's a lot of people now in that market, they're trying to find their why and understand how to navigate that. Because we had Neil Patel on a couple months ago, and he said, there's at least 4 billion pieces of content uploaded each day, and nearly half of them get no engagement, no likes, and no shares. So in a sea of 4 billion pieces being uploaded, and you're trying to find your why or who you are, it seems like it really is important. Because when I look at your videos, and we were just looking at them before you came on, the strongest videos that have performed in just the last couple of weeks are still your teaching videos.
Yes.
How is
And
that
I don't know.
possible?
I
That
still
you're
love doing the other things, and I don't know.
I
Like
love
drop
you.
the
I love
boots
your
and
jumping and your excitement and your trend and how to do the marshmallow thing and how to do the switcheroo and the Busta rhyme. Those are I enjoy that. But when I look at the views, the teaching
It's
stuff is
always
still
the
off the
teaching
charts.
stuff. Because I'll tell you why, because it's algorithmically, I love that word now, algorithmically, when it's people saving it and saving it for later and sharing it with someone else, it definitely boosts your engagement. So then you get more views. And that's just facts. So even though someone might enjoy me jumping into my boots, they're less likely to save that to see it later or to share it with someone else. So by
Oh,
engagement metrics, it makes sense to me that the tutorials are like person saving it for later. When you look at the metrics, when you see saves and shares,
yeah.
that's when you see higher views overall. So that's a big part of it. I think also just people that are trying to find their why, they have to just realize it's inside. There's a passion inside that you haven't tapped into yet. Because I do all these things, but that for some reason I'm driven to do every single week. I want to make sure I'm sharing knowledge, and I get so excited when someone does it and someone tags me and it's like, they did it. Oh my God.
You
I'm
know,
like a
you
teacher.
people would say if they don't know you, like, but you're saying that because you have 1 million followers
Yeah.
and it's so easy to understand all of that. But if somebody's in the beginning of their journey,
Mm.
because the essence of who you are, your why, people say that, but have you come to that conclusion? How did you get there in understanding this is your why and therefore I will do this?
Because in the beginning, when I did it a few times and I got the feedback, I felt my calling. So I felt
Mhm.
like, oh, this person really got it from my lesson. And they would say in the comments, I've seen hundreds of tutorials about this, and yours is the first one I understood. So I'm like, I got to keep doing this. I have something here. And it was just really obvious because I listened to my viewers. And I think if you're trying to find something in yourself, look to the people who are watching your videos. And so for me, even though I didn't have a lot of views necessarily in the beginning,
Mhm.
I was always motivated to come back for that handful of people that was really getting it from my videos. So I think the audience feeds the creator and vice versa. I don't think it's a one-way street. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are making a mistake about. And I have
Mhm.
examples of that. And I know people who are like, I don't understand why I can't, I'm not successful and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. And maybe I should try this and maybe I should try that. They have the wrong perspective of how to do it. Like, what do you want to share? What do you feel so excited about? What do you feel
Mhm.
that you can help people with? And even if it's just by entertaining them, what is that drives you? That's the part that people have trouble tapping into because they're trying to put the pieces together and pick the things from all the gurus saying do this and do that, and
Yes, yes.
they get lost. So it has
Yes,
to come
5
back to
videos a
you.
day and do that on all the platforms
Oh my,
or all of that stuff,
yeah, no thanks.
there's a lot of people that can do that, but then it can be hard. It's great if you have a team. Not a lot of people have a team to
No, I don't.
go through and make those videos, happen 5 or 6 a day. I know, I mean, I love Gary V. Gary, if you want to come on, you're invited. I want to
Yes,
hear
you
more
are
about that.
invited. I'll
And
be a
actually, we've
voyeur in the
talked. We
lobby.
You bet. Yeah.
I will be a voyeur in the lobby if you have him on. I'll just sit there and watch.
We had James Orsini, so he works underneath Gary Vee, and he said something that I want to ask you about.
Okay.
And not so much the posting 5 times a day, but something that's really stuck with me, because I think a lot of creators, the things that once they have a little bit of success, they think, well, where can I take this? Where does it
Mm.
go? I'm not making a dime on the
Yes.
views, right? I'm getting some views now. Maybe I'm having some success, but I'm still at my mom's house or my dad's house or with my roommates, or, I'm still driving the old jalopy car. How do I take this to the next level where I'm actually paying for the bills and then some?
Yeah. It is such a process because a lot of people just think very linearly that it's like merch or selling products or getting brand sponsorships, or they think that the views on TikTok are going to pay you just from your creator fund,
Mhm.
which, by the way, I always share my stats on that because I need people to know that with millions and millions of views on videos, it's not millions and millions of dollars. It doesn't equate that way. It's very low. So I'm happy to disclose if you want to talk about that at any point. But it really turns into like thinking outside the box. And I will say to you that for 3 years, until last year, I went into the creator fund thing. But for 3 years before that, I didn't make a dime from the TikToks. But my daughter will always correct me and say, but you did because you got work from TikTok. So I got speaking engagements. That's money that I made from social media because I wouldn't have had a speaking engagement if I wasn't an expert on social media. I'm now shooting for big brands. I was in Croatia shooting Clairol TikToks, believe it or not. So
Wow.
I'm literally having opportunities because of my expertise. I'm being invited to do different type of production work than I was doing before. So even though for 3 years it didn't equate dollar for dollar, like a post brought in a money, it was money that came to me from being an expert. And that is money from the platform, in my
Mhm.
opinion. It's just not direct. So it's like somebody has to understand that you can put yourself out there as an expert and your career might get a boost and you might have a job opportunity that you didn't even know existed. So it's not just connecting the dots like directly. Sometimes it's a little bit of a winding road to connect the dots, which is what I've been doing for 3 years. So I
Wow.
only specifically connected the dots directly to monetizing my audience in this 4th year. So that's crazy, actually, because
That
people are
is
like,
crazy.
yeah,
Hold on.
people are
Somebody
like, you
wants
should
to say something
charge.
on that.
Oh,
Someone
go
wants to
for it.
say something on that. Here.
Another one.
Yes. Another one. It's so crazy because we all have different journeys to get there. And you talked about sometimes it doesn't look linear. It looks like this. And had you been able to monetize, let's say in month number 6,
Mm-hmm.
this is where I was going with this. James Orsini, who works for Gary Vee, he says you probably wouldn't have been able to avoid some of the potholes, right?
Right.
Because you're talking about creator funds, and so many people like, I gotta hit that milestone so I can get paid, and then you realize I'm getting a penny on a million views. Not literally, but
No,
you know what I mean.
it's 67 cents on 1,000 views is what I'm getting.
0.67, so
Yeah.
half a penny.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I guess it's 67 cents because it's in my thing, it shows up 0.67. So 67
Oh, so,
cents per 1,000 views though. And so, do the math.
so
And that's not
10,000 views
and
only
that has to
gives you
be
$6,
qualified. Yeah. And
$7.
it's got to be qualified views. So then half of them, if it's repeat views, if someone watches a video twice, that doesn't count.
Oh,
So it's,
really?
yeah, there's so much to it. It's like so little money. So for a whole year, I'll disclose from November 2023 to November 2024. I just looked at this recently and I was like, $3,500. I have had multiple viral videos that have about more than 1 million views. Like when I have 3 million views, that's how much I made in total for the entire year from the Creator
What?
Fund. Don't you
What?
think that sounds a little like it sounds low to me?
That does.
I
That's
had people guess.
crazy.
I had people guessing in my live the other night, and some of them
What?
thought it was 100,000. They were like 250,000. I'm like, no, 3,500.
Oh yeah. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, Queen
You are the
Bee,
queen bee.
Queen Bee.
But yeah, it seems like in a way we're trying to get to a point where we can live off of that,
Mhm.
and so few people are able to accomplish that. And I know that you're in your 4th year on doing that, and now you've been able to start personalizing your expertise to people
Yeah.
so that they can maybe guide themselves to avoiding those potholes. How's that going so far?
Okay, it's going great, and I do attribute it to the fact that I spent all 4 years building trust, not asking people for money, not selling merchandise, not going into the TikTok shop. Let me sell you something, brand deals. So my 4 years have been so well invested in building trust with my audience that the minute something was available, because they're asking me, they're messaging me, can I work with you privately? And I haven't really provided a space for that.
Mm.
So it almost, I don't even have to sell it. And that's the beauty of it. I can just say, hey, I'm doing this now. And it's so much fun because I actually love it. I go into my little studio because I have a virtual studio now, and the people are leaving me questions and comments, and I'm sharing each week, like, here, everybody try this challenge. And then they post their version of it, and then they're all helping each other. It is incredible. And it's so organized for me that before, if I was to do this a year ago, I think I would have been overwhelmed and I wouldn't have understood how to do it efficiently for myself, where I could actually be helpful without being overwhelmed. And I have figured it out, and it took me a long time, but I'm okay with that.
And that's the thing. You
I
have
have
to be okay.
patience.
You have to be okay with the process. And nobody, I'm sure you can include yourself on this one. Nobody wants to hear the word wait.
No.
Right? You're from New York. You're from New
Gotta
York.
go.
Who
We gotta
wants to
do it
wait?
now.
Nobody wants to wait because hurry up and wait, right?
I know.
Hurry up and wait. Who wants to do that?
Nobody. A year ago, my daughter tried to talk me into doing this, and I said, okay, we'll do it. And then I just went to sleep that night, and I started to feel like I was choking. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to deliver for the people, and they're going to pay me, and I'm not going to be able to. I don't understand. I couldn't process the process. I could not process the process of how I was going to actually be able to deliver and help people really on a more personal level until now. And it was a sequence of events that happened, and I happened to connect with a community manager expert. Her name is Mayan Gordon. She's quite incredible. And she has built communities, and she literally step by step told me, here's how it goes so that it doesn't debilitate your life. And I am so now determined. I'm thinking of all this time I've spent in the TikTok comments answering people who aren't paying me. I can invest half that amount of time to the people who are paying me and still feel so empowered and good about it because they're getting what they need. So great.
How do you know? How do you?
I don't know.
How do you make? Because this is such good. These are good like bombs you're throwing here. Like you hear that. I've heard it on so many videos. Go ahead and comment, reply. And if you get 10, 20, 30 comments on something, it takes time because, you're thinking, I'm not just going to put a heart emoji and call it a day, right?
I respond.
Right. So how do you sift through that and knowing which ones are the ones you should be, okay, that's the ones that I'm going to go through?
So I'm very almost OCD about helping people. So I really scroll, and I have like a process now where in the evening and in the morning, I do the quick, make sure there's not a comment that really needs to be answered right away. Now the people that are just dropping the comments on my TikTok have already now dropped down a notch in priority compared to my paid members. So my paid members, they all get the answers. Now the TikToks,
on TikTok, you have paid members.
No, I have paid members in my community separate.
Oh, in your community, and you know who they are when you see them on TikTok?
It's in a separate place, but I recognize the
Got
names. And I tell them, don't drop anything in the comments. If you need something from me, put it into the community so I can respond. So we have a separate, it's like a separate app. It is a separate app. It's not like, it's a separate app. It's called Naz.io. It's a community management app. And so when someone has a question, and if they tag me in the TikTok just to see it, I'll see it. But they put the question, if they're a paid member, into the community. And then I go in there every night and I check those comments and I respond to every single comment. It's crazy, but I do.
Wow. You are, again, the queen bee on this one. You said something about going on site and shooting over in Europe.
Yes.
And I think I'd seen you with these beautiful picturesque scenes. Take me behind, hold on. I got something that is not a problem.
Aw.
Take me behind the scenes. What's that like for those folks that haven't been on set, dealing with maybe a celebrity or two or three models and, there's money. You're on set, that's money, right? They're spending, dropping a lot of cash to put people in a very exotic location. What is that like? What's that working with the demands on it besides being in a beautiful scenery? What do people don't understand about doing that kind of thing?
Okay, there's probably a lot because I don't think the average person has ever been on a production set. So I come into it with a bit of an advantage because my whole career has been in production. So I've been on sets. I understand the dynamics of a set. Who's the AD? What do they have to do? Where's the prop team? How does that work? How does the communication flow if you want to get some time with one of the talent? Who do you have to ask? And I understand those protocols because I've grown up with it. I've lived in production. I've been in the production business. So I come with a skill set that is very unique. So if another influencer got booked for the same job that I just did, where you're going to come on set while they're filming a commercial and you're going to be responsible for all the social media content. If someone else was to walk in, they would not know how to get what they needed from the day in a way that was not disruptive to the production process itself. And so they probably would get thrown out because they'd think, I'm in charge here and I'm going to come in and I'm going to just pull the talent aside whenever I feel like it. But I can read the room. So I come with an entire
Helen, just stick this in front of their face, right? I'm the social media queen. I can stick this in your face, right?
Right. And that's not how it works. Like you would not be able to. So because I bring this other skill set, and it combines with me being mature enough to not think that I'm going to walk in and run the show in that moment. Like, I see what's going on over here. I know what they have to get done in their production day. And so they call me the ghost because I slink around and somehow manage to, in between the shots, get the shots I need. And then at the end of the day, I have edits that blow them away because they're like, when did you shoot this? So I am so micro niche in this one department right now that I'm getting booked again and again by the same ad agency. And now I just got referred to another ad agency. So the ad agencies are finding me and they're hearing about me. So it's word on the street, baby.
The word on the street is this is the ghost you need to have on set.
Yes.
She's invisible, knows how to make it happen. And I would imagine for those folks that are experienced, right, in the production side of things, they completely get that, you know, you're not stepping all over the talent at the wrong time.
Right. And
Right?
even when
And
they're in, sometimes I go into the wardrobe, the hair and makeup or wardrobe section. I'm like, I can grab some shots here and I can tell right away, not a good time. Someone's being stressed about their hair. And like, you have to be able to have a read the room type of mindset in the whole thing. So even though it's like glam, we're in this great country. We were shooting in a villa one day. It was stunning. Okay. I mean, I was like, my breath was taken away in this villa. It was like almost like an Italian villa, but in Croatia. Just fantastic. And still there's stress involved. So it's not just walk around and take it in and shoot whatever you want, whenever you want. You still have to realize that everybody's here to do a job. Most of these production people are working day after day on production and they don't even think it's glamorous. I mean, I still think it's kind of glam because I don't know. I've always been so passionate about production and how much I love it. But most production people, most crew people are there to do a job and they're getting their, you know, their union paycheck, whatever. So you have to really just bring it down and
just
get the job done.
Bring it down a notch. And as you're doing the thing, I think I saw a video where you said you slammed your face into a glass, you tripped, and you know, you went face first, but then you talked about it, which was
so crazy.
You're really like revealing the real with the big humongous cables on the floor and you can't really see them, and a glass you can't see. It's
I can't even tell you. First of all, I don't even remember that I posted about that, but of course I would because I have no problem. I show it all. And I think what I will say about it is when I'm in those scenarios, I take time to make my own content that's separate from the content I'm shooting for the brand. And I have to be careful because these things are done 6 months out. So those social media pieces aren't even airing yet. And this happened, I did that shoot in July. So I have to be mindful of what I'm sharing, but I also can do my behind the scenes thing with talent and things without showing products or without divulging anything that's being shot. So when I was having lunch at this stunning villa table, and I was the last one to get lunch that day, and I was like, yes, I have the whole table to myself. And I like making content for my channel to really share my perspective, which is I do appreciate the glam of it all. And I never get over it and take it for granted. And when something goes wrong, I have no problem showing it. I felt like the biggest idiot when I whipped around this corner trying to get this shot, tripped over something, slammed into the glass. I had to put ice. They were trying to get ice in a foreign country, by the way.
an injury. Ice. You had a war story from an injury of being on site.
I did. And I said, and every time I learn something from the war stories, I'm like, next time I'm going to make sure they know that they can't break down a set until they check with me first, because I was trying to get to something before they broke the set. You know, that's like take everything down. So it's my own fault because I should really communicate better. So I learned the hard way.
Right with the glass. You know, I have one production story, which was super interesting at the time. When I was in college, I was an extra on a movie that is played every Christmas with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad.
What?
Yes.
That's fun.
That was fun. And so what I didn't know, because it was new to me at the time, was that, you know, they had a big spread table with just every imaginable really good food. But that wasn't for the extras. There's like a bifurcation of extras and then the real big talent like Sinbad and Arnold. And I happened to be walking by near the table, and there was we were heading to another scene. And Sinbad walks in to grab something off the table, and he looks at the table. It's a really long table. And he's like, there's just way too much food here. This is going to get thrown away. He's like, come here, come here, grab off of this table because it's all going to get thrown away. And it was like a surprise, like, you know, there's a protocol, you know, okay, we shouldn't grab off that table. And that's exactly what you're saying with when you're going on set. There's protocols, and for the average person, they wouldn't get
They
that,
wouldn't
but
know, they wouldn't know. I'll tell you a funny story. Well, first of all, that's called craft services. We call it crafty in the biz. So there's client crafty and then there's crew crafty. Anyway, so that's how that flies. But we had a shoot once, and this was years and years ago when I was shooting toys in Rome, Italy. And
mm,
we were this is a ridiculous story that we were filming at Sophia Loren's villa for some ridiculous reason. We were shooting My Little Pony, and we had props, and they were props that matched the pony, the rump designs on the pony, because My Little Ponies have these like rump designs that, so there was candy ponies, and so there was all these candies. Unbeknownst to us, they put all these candy props on the table, and everybody thought we can eat this candy, but it was the candy props for the shots. So
oh,
we go to shoot the shots, and somebody goes over to the candy table to get the props, and the crew had eaten it because nobody knew. Nobody
the
knew it
props.
was the it was prop candy, not crafty candy. Oh my god! So that was a
Oh
trick.
my goodness, that could be a problem.
Yeah,
The prop.
problem. The props got eaten, literally. Can't make it up.
Oh
Can't make it
my
up.
goodness, that's. I'm sure you probably are loaded with
I do.
those kinds of crazy stories. And you know what? The other thing that's crazy is that, you know, people try to figure out how to go viral, right?
Mm,
People, you know, you could see all the different gurus and people, but you've managed to crack the code
mhm.
on that. And is there something that you could share about that
Yes.
people either get wrong, or what's the first thing you should be thinking about before even shooting if you're trying to go viral, trying to get
Okay.
your name out there on social media like that?
I have so much to say about this because I just did a workshop, Unlock the Secrets to Going Viral. So it's
Okay.
all very fresh, but it's also very innate because if you think about yourself watching videos, and I did a whole deep dive analysis and I went through and I said, oh, viral video, why was that viral? And I listed why it was viral because in the first 3 seconds, this happened. Why is this
Mhm.
viral? Oh, because what she said in the first 2 seconds was got people hooked in. And then she followed up. So to give examples of the things that are most successfully viral, they usually hook you in the first 3 seconds, but they also have to deliver in the remainder. So
Mm.
I like to use examples that are very tangible for people listening because if you're on social media and you know that recently there was a woman who found a rug buried in her backyard. Do you know the story of this one?
I
She found a
haven't.
rug.
Share,
Oh,
please.
surprisingly. So she found a rug. She was digging to put in a fence and they found a rug in her backyard. And so she had this story, but she didn't start her video saying they were digging and they found a rug in my backyard, which had
Mhm.
blood on it, by the way. But she
Ooh.
started the story. She said, I think my house is haunted. Like that's how she started. And she was walking into a room showing people that her computer screen was cracked and how she had left here the night before, but now it's here. So she's got people so invested in this story. Not only did she have a viral video, but she had a viral video that converted people to follow because her story was so that people didn't want to miss the follow-ups to the story.
Mhm.
And right now, it's very hard, even if you have a viral video, to have that convert to followers because the algorithms are so smart that you don't have to follow people anymore. You're getting
Mm.
fed the content you like because of
Yes.
the nature of you scrolling. And so people don't follow as quickly as they used to back when I first got on social media. Somebody
No,
was
that's
like,
true.
tutorial, I better follow her. So I amassed a following at that point. Now, if you watch a tutorial, you're likely going to get another one a few scrolls later. So you don't have to necessarily follow people to get what you want. So when it's a story that is
Mm.
so crucial to now you're invested in it, now you're going to hit the follow button. And you have to take that mindset and say, okay, I don't have a haunted house, but how am I going to take that thinking into my content? How am I going to get someone interested in enough in the first 2 seconds to then stay with me? And so another trick that I love is, which I, again, in my analysis, starting with the end of a story. So if you are somebody that's either a good storyteller or you have something that's so cool at the end, but you don't think people are going to stick around to the end, start with it. And then your video will loop back to the beginning. So I'll give you an example because it's hard to
Okay.
process in words.
Please.
There was a girl who was going to, I think, the middle of the country somewhere to get a puppy that she had, from a breeder or something. So she didn't start her video by saying, come with me to Kansas while I go pick up my puppy. She started the
Mhm.
video holding up this freaking cute puppy and saying, here's how I went, blah, 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 and got my puppy.
Okay.
And so she already hooked people in to the sort of the sweet spot ending. And then everybody wanted to see, well, what was her process now? So there's all those types of, and they're not tricks, they're just really ways of creating. It's content strategies of how you can engage your audience in the first 3 seconds so they don't scroll, but then delivering on the promise so they don't leave. And that will prompt it. And then the last
Mm.
part is what I said earlier. It's whatever that content is. If people are so into it that they send it or share it or save it, it's higher metrics than just commenting or hitting the like button. So,
I like what you said, because now I'm thinking about the metrics of YouTube, for example.
mhm.
We were just talking about this with our media team. We have a disproportionate amount of people that actually follow us on YouTube on the longer stuff. Like, so we have a bunch of educational stuff that around technology, right?
Mhm.
And e-commerce. Anytime we've done a really deep dive, that's 40 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour,
Right.
way more followers. Like you said, people get
Ah,
invested into it.
yes.
Shorts, we get followers, but not in the same proportion to the views, which is interesting, because you would think the stuff that's more viral-ish, more people are ha ha ha, or whoa,
No.
that's an interesting nugget, you'd get more followers off of
Nope.
that, versus here's what we're gonna break this down today. And today we're gonna sit down and examine a viral video and
Yes.
break and reverse engineer it, right? And that takes you 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do.
Yeah.
More followers. Like,
More followers.
it's really like shifting my thinking. And now you're confirming, because we've been trying to understand, why is this
Why?
happening?
Yeah.
Why are we getting more followers
Yeah.
on the long stuff, quote, more boring,
Mhm.
than the more hippie, blue, bleep, 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 beep, bop, boop, beep, ah, yeah,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Makes so much sense, and it is validating everything that I have in my content that is viral. So my
Mm.
longest, one of my first times I was able to post like a 10-minute video, I did a long stop motion lesson on how to do stop motion. And it was like 7 minutes, which is unheard of. Who's posting a seven
On
minute video
TikTok,
on TikTok?
especially.
That's when I got hundreds of thousands of followers.
Oh,
That is when I neared my million. That's like that launched me, because it was a long lesson and people then became invested in me from my
mm.
lessons. And so it
Ah.
was not just like a quick, oh, here's how to do it, drop the clothes, boo, boo, boo thing. Like it was
Mhm.
a very detailed, like production. I became like a production teacher for people. And that's way more valuable for somebody to want to follow than, oh, I just learned a quick lesson from this guy who just said, oh, this is a trending audio, use it like this. And
Yeah.
I notice because I see people that do that. And when I see those people, I don't have to follow them because they show up on my page and again if I watch that video. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. Yeah, it works on me too.
It's fascinating. So, two things. One, the people that are going to follow now want to be invested, and they feel invested if they've spent 5, 10, maybe 20 minutes or more
Yeah.
with you, versus 30 seconds watching you jump in and out of your boots.
Yeah.
Literally. I've seen your video of jumping.
It's a good one.
I love that.
That was a good one. People were like, what did you save those boots from the 60s? I'm like, no, I just bought them 2 months ago. Everything goes around and comes back again. But yeah, I just find it so intriguing. And I am a sponge. So when something happens, I learn from it. When something goes well, I learn from it. When something goes wrong, I also learn from it. So I'll give you an example of the opposite thing happening where I posted something recently and it was a trend and it was just like, share your fear about something. So I posted, I used to think my fear was heights and now I know it's blindness. And it was a serious music thing. And I thought people will get it because they'll remember when I was blind. But what happened instead is people thought I was going blind. So I was like, oh shit. So I took it down immediately because I think that it missed the mark, and it would just miss the mark because so many people didn't know the trend. And when people don't know that it's a trend, they think you're trying to communicate something to them. So I said, forget it. I took it down. So you really have to be, I always analyze my content and say, is this worth keeping up there? If somebody's being either misinterpreting it or misunderstanding it, and then I say, then it's not, because I'm not trying to attract that type of audience to my content. And that will tend to start to go viral, things like that. So I'm really conscious
So
of
you
that.
so you really have to also, sounds like you have to pay attention to the metrics, some of the
Yeah.
analytics,
And the
understanding
comments.
somehow your audience, also where you're going. So learning is always part
Mm.
of growing. And I think when you and I last talked a couple months ago, one of the things, if you could share, because learning is really
Uh-huh.
important to me, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to us, that you had participated in a TikTok study of sorts.
I did. Oh my
And
God.
it was really eye-opening. Could you share anything? Can you shed some light? What could we glean from what you
Yeah.
experienced in
I
that
had
study?
so let me just think of how, because I was contacted by some PR companies at the same time, but they're collecting data from creators now, which I think is saying a lot about the company. They're trying to get information. How are you using it? How's it been most beneficial? How have you monetized? So it became informational for them. I was excited to be chosen because I am not a verified creator. And I've thought, well,
Mm,
like, obviously they're watching my content because they picked
mm,
me. There was people from the company, TikTok, on the call. I could see the emails. So it wasn't
okay.
just a separate company. It was fully vetted. And I just learned a lot because I realized how massive the organization is, that they have all pockets within that are trying to solve and make the place better. So even though you think, oh, they're not really caring about us as creators, no, they actually are. They're conducting all these studies to try and find the answers. They're trying to figure out how they can, and they're also trying to collect data for governmental reasons so that they can, I'm sure, battle what's coming, where they're saying they're going
Yeah,
to ban
I don't
TikTok.
think that's going away.
I don't think
It's
it's going away.
it's just the 2 cents, my 2 cents on what that is. All social media, all the big ones that are American companies collect data on its users,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them use it for profit,
Yeah. Duh.
including TikTok. And so Google, even they're not really social media, but they have
Facebook,
as
come
much, if
on.
not much, information
Yes.
on all of our data. And it's interesting that they are being singled out. I've seen all the quote national security reasons, but all these other social media companies, I'd love to talk to some Meta guys and
Yeah.
gals
Let's do that. Get in it.
and just put the cards on the table, because I don't think they're going away. There's obvious, I think there's some other motives behind that,
Mm-hmm.
probably bringing them underneath the same national security umbrella as all those other players are. And I
Yes.
think at the heart of it is that maybe the government can't collect all the data like they do from Meta and Google and everybody else
Yeah.
here in the US.
What you're saying makes perfect sense. I think there's so much we don't know. And this is a lot of what I relate when I was talking to my daughter recently about government things that have happened and all the election things. I would say that it's so difficult because we, as citizens of a country, we don't know what's the details of the inner workings of what's happening there, no matter how
Mhm.
much we think we know about government doings and whatnot. If someone from the outside came to a production shoot, this is like the perfect example, they would not understand, oh, that person does that. I have to talk to that person before I try and approach this. Like, I know the dynamics of a production set. And so if I take that same mindset and I move it into like the workings of the government, are we going to know who, what, when, where, how, what the order, what the protocol? There's so much we don't know about how it works. And that's
Mhm.
why I feel so stressed about talking about it. When people say, well, why don't you talk about it on your social media? Well, because I don't know this inside of what's happening inside how things work. I mean, that would be like somebody trying to make an opinion about a shoot and why didn't we have that talent go first? And I have all the production reasons why we couldn't do that, but the average person wouldn't know. Do you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
relating it.
absolutely. I get it. I get it. I saw something. I'm a little closer to that action since I live 20 minutes from downtown DC.
I'm sure
And
you're a
so
lot closer. I mean,
yeah,
physically
you're
and
just up 95.
intellectually than me.
Yeah, physically closer. They just issued something, NSA of all things,
Uh-huh.
the agency that has more supercomputers than anybody else. That agency issued an interesting warning. They said that Android and iPhone users should regularly restart their phones. And they
Mm.
listed a whole bunch of new vulnerabilities that are coming out,
Oh,
that are out. And I found that interesting.
I'm
Just
going to
that
take
the
that guidance from you. I'm going to
yeah,
shut my phone off at night and turn it back on.
yeah, there's a whole lot of advancements on the vulnerability side, just to put it
Okay.
that way. And those vulnerabilities now, the old days was like, oh yeah, yes, I hear weird clicks, and that's old movie stuff. Like
Ah,
that somebody's listening in on you. That's like ancient now, like
yeah, yeah.
horse and buggy days in terms of the technology that NSA possesses, as well as some of the other countries. They can just send a message to your phone without it even showing up, and boom, now they're
Mm.
listening and grabbing all the data.
Mhm.
That's how crazy
It's
where it's
crazy.
at right now. And that's why the way to wipe that out would be restart your phone.
Okay. Noted. I learned.
Let me get you on something else when it
Okay.
comes to, we're talking about NSA and all that, but AI.
Oh,
AI is playing a greater role. I'm
it's
sure
here to
you've seen the
stay.
advancements with Runway, with some of the other generative AI, as well as what's happening now, the conversation around your content that's
Mm,
out there on TikTok or wherever it lives,
it's
and
terrifying.
it being used to train the AI and not getting paid for it. There's a lot of hubbub with
Yeah.
Perplexity, for example, scraping Reddit because they're training their algorithm and using that essentially. Now,
Mhm.
users are paying for a free or paid version. What are your thoughts on where we're going with that as a creator, as somebody that's just putting out content that your data or your
Yeah.
content is being trained for, but you're not getting anything for it?
Yeah. Well, there's so many levels to this. It's where people's images are being used to promote products that they're not behind. And there's creators that have been coming onto the platforms talking about that. And that's really devastating because that's even more violating, I think, than it is just scary. It's like you don't
Hmm.
know where your face is being used to promote something. That's insane. I know that obviously AI is not going away, and I know that there's benefits to it, but I also still think that we're individuals with souls. And so
Hmm.
thankfully, I don't believe that AI is going to have a soul, at least not in my lifetime. And so I always think that I could have an AI bot answering, let's say, the comments on my TikTok or my community, or I know on Instagram, they have a thing now where you can automate
Hmm.
responses. I won't do it, but I just think it's still going to be recognizable because of my little nuances, how I am as a person, and how my nuances change. So AI is learning, but we can change faster. I want to hope and believe that we can.
Right, right. And I heard
But I'm scared.
from no, no. The with AI, we've talked to a few AI guys and
Yeah.
gals, and one of the things that it may have been Neil. I just can't remember right now who said this, but AI cannot replicate your experience. Hold on. I
Oh,
want to do
that's
this
really good.
because
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I've got one of these in your honor
Oh,
in my hands through the podcast, so I could exactly so I could channel you.
always hand.
Yes. So you could say, yesterday I was in the Greenwich Village and I was eating a cheese sandwich and this rat jumped out of the sewer and, people were, going crazy. Like it can't replicate that yet. It's not
Very
at that
accurate
level, right?
experience
So
that you just shared.
your
No, I'm just
experience,
kidding.
right? So your experience is yours. It can
Yes.
try to nibble at those edges, but it can't replicate your experience and what you know to be true.
Okay, I love that you said that because I'm not great with articulating things when it's in my experience almost above my level of intellect because I'm not that smart in that area. So that's not my expertise. I could talk a good game in production, but you just articulated exactly what I mean. Like the emotion or the reaction and how we're going to do things. I know that AI can learn these things, but it can't be us. So
Yeah.
hoping I'm just hoping that we can figure out a way to use it as a world that's more productive and not destructive.
Well, think about, I'm sure you've used ChatGPT or one of these, Claude
Sure.
or any of these,
Love
and,
it.
and you try to write, and it's just like, why can't this just? It's got like 60%. It's missing that other 40. That
Yeah.
like I don't quite talk like that, or
No.
that's not really worded the right way.
Okay. So
Still a
funny.
little clumsy. Like it doesn't quite. It sounds like somebody that's trying to write a paper and learning on how to do this thing that you're trying to get it to do, and it's putting it out there instead of like in your voice, like I was at the beach and all of a sudden the
Right.
sand hit me in the eye and there was this guy behind me. You know what? He was from Coney Island. And you know what? Coney Island has some of the best hot dogs where they do the hot dog contest. Can't
Right.
quite put
Can't
all of
quite do
those
that. But
feelings yet.
okay, so here's my thinking on that because I don't use ChatGPT to write things. I will
Mhm.
sometimes say if I need an outline, I'll go to ChatGPT for that, and then I get the outline and then I write it. But I've been doing it the opposite now, and I find
Mm.
it's much more productive or successful when I do it the opposite. So I write it quickly, and I don't worry about, I guess, if it's a run on sentence or if it's bad grammar. I just write it like almost like a run on Helen thought. And then I just give it to ChatGPT already written. And I say,
Mhm.
make this better. Something simple like that, write this better. And then I read it and I'm like, just cleaned up my grammar, but it still has my vibe. So it doesn't take away my vibe when I do in that direction. So I'm giving
Mhm.
it my vibe. And then it's giving it back to me, a cleaned up version of my vibe. So it's quicker for me to write something, but it's not like I'm giving it to the bot to write from scratch. And I think
Mhm.
that's where people are missing how to use it well is they're not giving it, they're taking too much time doing back and forth and trying to ask it a question, then it writes it, then make it this way, then write it, make it more hip, then go back, going back and forth takes longer than like writing it from your soul, and then put it in and then let the bot clean it up. And it's like,
Ooh, I like that. I
isn't
like
that
that. Hold
good?
on a second. Wait a minute.
You writing that down?
I like that. I like that. Yeah, Ori's is, he's helping us in the back end and he's listening to all this. So,
Okay.
Ori, I hope you're taking notes. We use it a lot. So we're big into Perplexity. We use them all. Perplexity, ChatGPT,
okay.
for all kinds of different things. And I know there'll be a day when
Yeah.
it'll be a lot easier to use. It's still a little clumsy. It doesn't always figure things out. But I
Right.
like your approach about
It's different. I think I cracked the code on how it helps me. So because it's hard for me to then make a ChatGPT thing into my language. It's easier for the bot to take my language and just clean it up a little bit. And I just really like it. It's been so productive for me. Instead of proofreading things, I can say, just tweak this. And then if I don't like the way it tweaked it, I'll put it back or I'll add my language back in if it cleaned it up too much. So yeah, that's what I recommend.
There's like 50 questions I want to ask you, but I know we're short on time. But leave me with something that
Oh.
inspires or brings the inner better part of me. And you've been doing this a lot today while we're talking because there's a lot here to unpack. But leave me with something aspiring or that's inspired you recently that other people that are listening to this could feel good about. Because right now we're in one of those times where I need to take more than a deep breath, right? Several deep breaths and probably something very strong, right?
Yep, I'm with you.
What have you found that's giving you just a little bit of peace of mind?
That there's a skill set I have that I am tapping into at a different level. And it's not production and it's not teaching and it's none of those things. It's bringing people together. And it's like, I try not to be emotional about it, but when I used to live in the suburbs, we might've talked about this. I don't know, but I used to have dance parties at my house for ladies only. And I would invite the ladies over and I'd be like, now no men are here and your husbands are home. Like we can just dance till we drop. The music would blast. There might be shots, there might be some alcohol involved, whatever, having a good time. And I had women from all walks of life that would never hang out together in my house, dancing till we dropped. Okay. So I think I am creating that vibe, and it's not a women's only thing now. Now it's a creator version of that vibe where in my virtual studio, you can call it a community, you can call it whatever you want. I like to call it a studio because it feels really right for me. The group that I'm attracting are the kind of people I want to be with. They are good souls. They are there for each other. They're supportive. It's happening so quickly. In the first week, I have 80 members, first week, which is amazing. And of the 80 members, they're already in each other's videos. I go to sometimes on TikTok, I'm like, oh, let me see how they're doing. How my studio crew doing. And I go and look and I say, oh my God, 5 other studio members have commented on this video. So they're already supporting each other. So I think what I've got here is I didn't realize how much I have a propensity for bringing the right people together and making positive impact. And that's what I'm going to friggin' do from now on.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to just love that. Love that. It doesn't get
like
old
the
when I do that
applause.
for you.
No, not for me either.
Helen, I enjoy talking to you. I wish I could do this more.
I love
I
being
know
here.
that you're such a busy woman. You got so much going on. You've got so many things. We do have to do it again. Put it on the calendar,
Ew.
and
We
we'll
can
do
always find new things to talk about.
Yes, part tres, número tres. I want to do part 3
Absolutamente.
whenever you're ready.
Okay, absolutamente. Exactamente. We'll do it.
Exactamente. Well, we have, I think, said it all for now, but if you loved this episode and you enjoyed nerding out with myself and Helen, I want to encourage you to hit that subscribe and also follow us, Helen. We want people to follow us. And here's the reason. Because when they do, we know we're on the right track. And we want to deliver more awesome guests like Helen. And I promise you that if you do that, I will do my best with my team to bring you more people like Helen on this podcast. And if you want to support us even further, and I know some of those that are listening are in the business world, and you're looking for a company that knows technology, like we were talking about earlier, about security vulnerabilities, about communications, that's something our company's been doing for 20 years. And we can help you put that together in a way where it's easy for your IT team, and so that they can rest a little bit easier at night knowing that they have a technology plan that's going to work for them. So go ahead and check that out. That'll be in the links in the description. And Helen is always a good talker.
I
She
love it.
delivers such good stories. But let's continue the TikTok theme. We talked to another TikToker. I think she's a millennial. Her name is Kyla Yulee. Had talked about what the pitfalls were when you start your online business, especially if you're social first. She had a lot to share, and why you really want to think this out before you open up the online piece to start transacting.
Smart.
Go ahead and check out that episode with Kyla Yulee. I will see you there. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.